Hi, everybody. So this weekend I plan on playing some Backgammon Chouettes with some friends. And leading up to the weekend, I've been reminded that there's not really many resources out there that cover the topic. Not many videos, at least. I know there's some articles out there from 20 years ago. But, I figured I would make a quick and dirty diagram and video just walking through the basics of a backgammon chouette, uh, how to work the rotation and how to um, work with a chouette score sheet to figure out who's taking everybody else's money at the end of the night. So yeah, hopefully this is beneficial to my friends at the very least, or to any other beginners that find this on YouTube. Hopefully somebody comes along and makes a better chouette video. I'm looking at you, Jason. But until then, I guess this will have to do. So, what is a chouette? A chouette is a group backgammon game. Usually backgammon is played 1v1 or 2v2. So it's just an engaging way to play backgammon with 3 to usually 6 or so people. And by the way, throughout this video, I'm going to talk about backgammon just under the assumption that you know how to play backgammon and you're familiar with the doubling cube. But yeah, benefits of playing a chouette. It is a very social game compared to the usual 1v1, 2v2 backgammon. And therefore, it's very educational, especially if you're playing with much more experienced players than yourself. I think I've probably learned the most about backgammon through chouettes and books, not through quiet 1v1 play. And finally, it's just a more exciting way to play money games. Versus, again, a 1v1 money game. So yeah, highly recommend chouettes. They took a while to grow on me, but like I said, they're just really enjoyable and engaging, social, and fun. So I guess I'll start with just how a chouette starts and then kind of go over the like high level rotation of things before I get into specifics. So, as you can see in this diagram, I have four people playing a chouette. A chouette is one person versus everybody else. The one person is called the box, and then the team that the box is playing has a team captain that is actually making the hands-on checker moves for the rest of the team. Okay, so in order to figure out initial positions, each person rolls 2 dice, and the highest roll becomes the box. The second highest becomes the team captain. Third highest becomes the runner up to the captain, team member number 1. And then the lowest roll is jealous of everybody else. So the way the rotation works, again, just a high level overview of the rotation. If the box wins, they just remain the box. You kind of want to run the table and remain the box as long as you possibly can. That's how you make the most money or lose the most money. Obviously, if you're on a team of 3, let's say you're playing $1 a point, and you're Dirty John Billy, and you beat a team of 3. Well, you're taking $1 from each one of those team members, so you make $3 a game. For each game you stay, again, doubling cube aside, for each game you stay the box, you're making at least $3 from the team. As the team, every time you beat the box, you're only making a minimum of $1. The box is just paying out $1 per person per point. So that's kind of the benefit of remaining the box for as long as possible. the basic rotation, if the box wins, you remain the box. If you are the captain and you win, you become the box. It's as simple as that. So if the box loses, so if Dirty John Billy loses, then Lori Luann would, again, this is under the assumption Lori Luann wins. So Lori Luann becomes the box. The Yam Man becomes team captain. Uncle Paul becomes the runner-up, team member number 1, and then Dirty John Billy is now jealous of everybody else. Okay? Who can talk? So, yeah, consultation. Who can and cannot talk in a Chouette, it kind of changes depending on who you're playing with. Sometimes, if you're playing with newer players, there's oftentimes just open consultation. Anybody can talk. Typically, at least the people that I usually play with, you can't discuss cube actions. So you can't check with your team if you think it's a good cube or not. And then you can't talk about checker moves until there's a cube in play. Again, that's just how we play it. It differs from group to group. Okay. So I guess now would be a good time to get into cube actions. So let's say the box has the advantage right now. We're in the middle of a game and the box has the advantage and offers the cube to the team. Now, the box doesn't have to offer every single cube. They can be specific and only offer a cube to 1, 2, or all 3 people if they wanted to. But if they're very confident they have an advantageous position, they're going to toss the cube to all 3 people. Now, in this scenario, team member number 1 and number 2, they have to wait until the team captain has made up their mind. These two shouldn't be talking. Dirty John Billy should shut his mouth. So let's say the Yam Man drops. Then team member number 1 has a decision. Let's say team member takes and keeps the cube at 2. And then Dirty John Billy can make his decision. All right. So let's say Dirty John Billy drops. In Chouettes, you have to have at least 50% of the team take a cube for the game to proceed. I think it's just in an effort to keep things moving along and keep everybody engaged, really. You don't want 2 people just like sitting out of the game and not having fun. So in this scenario, if Dirty John Billy ends up dropping, the game would be over. Lori Luann would remain the box. Uncle Paul would become the team captain, and so on. If Dirty John Billy takes the cube, well then the Yam Man stands off to the side, can't talk. It's no longer the Yam Man's game. All right? They can't assist Uncle Paul and Dirty John Billy, and they shouldn't voice their opinions on checker moves or cube actions. Okay? Uncle Paul becomes captain. Dirty John Billy becomes team member number 1. Okay? Let's reset. All right. Now let's cover when the team can double. So this is a little bit different. Now, okay, so just to review, the box cubing the team captain has to be the first to say, I take or drop. When the team is cubing, so when the cube is at its default position or when the team already owns the cubes, anybody on the team can cube at any time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So let's say Uncle Paul is playing pretty well, And the Yam Man here sees a potential double before Uncle Paul does. The Yam Man can say, hold the roll. All right, Uncle Paul pauses. The Yam Man looks over the position and decides, yeah, I want to cube Lori Luann. So the Yam Man offers his cube to Lori Luann. And Lori Luann says, that's an early cube. I'm going to take that. And then the game goes on one more roll. So Lori Luann rolls, doesn't roll too well. And then, let's say, the very next roll, Uncle Paul and Dirty John Billy, they say, all right, maybe the Yam Man was onto something. So now they choose, okay, we're going to join. We're going to offer Lori Luann our cubes. Now, what happens if Lori Luann drops these 2 cubes? This is a little different than before. Lori Luann is already committed to a game with the Yam Man. Lori Luann can drop Dirty John Billy and Uncle Paul. There's nothing that says she can't do that. She says, okay, these cubes were sent too late. There's no way I'm going to play Uncle Paul and Dirty John Billy and lose more money than I'm already going to lose. So she drops them and continues on with the Yam Man. So in this position, Uncle Paul and Dirty John Billy, they're out. The Yam Man steps in as team captain. All right, and then they play their game out. Now, what's important, and let me go back to how it was set up before. Okay, let's say Lori Luann. Okay, again, Uncle Paul and Dirty John Billy, they drop. Lori Luann's playing the Yam Man. Even if Lori Luann wins this game against the Yam Man, she has already admitted defeat to the true team captain, which was Uncle Paul. She's already lost to Uncle Paul. She's lost 1 point and $1 to Uncle Paul. That means she's already given up the box. We already know that Uncle Paul is going to take her place. All right? I don't know why I moved those back. Let's go here. Okay. So, what happens then? So, let's say Lori Luann beats the Yam Man. Darn. Well, Lori Luann still goes to the back of the line because we already know Uncle Paul won. Lori Luann dropped Uncle Paul's cube. Okay? And this scenario, the Yam Man goes to team member number 1, and Dirty John Billy goes to team captain. All right, so hopefully that makes some sense. Speaking of the cube, so it's important to note, because it's a money game, in backgammon money games, the Jacoby rule is in place. So I just want to touch on this because it's kind of like when I was a beginner, it was hard for me to understand. But all the Jacoby rule means is that gammons and backgammons aren't even activated until a cube is played. Okay? That means if the cube is in its default position and Uncle Paul kind of gets in a gammonish position, Uncle Paul thinks, all right, I might gammon this team. With the cubes in a default position, he shouldn't be thinking, is it too good to double right now? It doesn't matter with the Jacoby rule. Uncle Paul should cube regardless. He's not going to lose out on any points. Now, let's say earlier in the match, the team offered Uncle Paul all of their cubes, and he took all of them. And now he's in a gammonish position. Well, now he might think, all right, I think I'm either going to gammon or backgammon the team. Now it can be too good to cube. Let's say it's so obvious that he's going to gammon them that when he offers them all their cubes, they just drop immediately, and he gets a total of $6. Again, $1 a point. The cube is at 2, so he gets $6 if they drop. So he may want to hold on to these cubes in this scenario, because if he gammons them, then he's going to get double what he was going to get before. So, he would get $12 instead of $6. Hopefully that helped. It was kind of a roundabout way of explaining it, but hopefully that benefited somebody out there. All right, let's go back to the start. All right, so I think now we can just touch on scoring and call it a day. So in this scenario, I've set up the Chouette at $1 a point. Some Chouettes are $5 a point, $10 a point, $20 a point. It changes per Chouette, just like the consultation rules. Okay. In this scenario, it's $1 a point. Now, let's say Uncle Paul. We're talking a new game now. Uncle Paul is in a winning position, offers the team all of their cubes, and they take all 3 of them. All right. And then let's say Uncle Paul wins the game. They don't ever redouble. Uncle Paul wins a total of 6 points and therefore $6. So we can start on the scoring sheet by just saying Uncle Paul has +6. And then how much did each player lose? Well, they lost 2 points per person. All right. So we're going to add -$2. I'll just copy this. Whoopsies. Copy it if I can. All right, so the Yam Man, Lori Luann, Dirty John Billy, they all went -2. Uncle Paul won $6 because he's doing a good job in the box, having a great day. All right, that means we can easily copy it. Since this is the first game, we can easily copy these to, copy these to the total. All right, and then we start the next game. All right, so let's say, again, Uncle Paul, cubes, everybody, they take, and then the tables turn, and they re-cube Uncle Paul, and he takes. All right, so now all 3 cubes that Uncle Paul has taken are at 4, a multiplier of 4. That means that Uncle Paul, if he loses this game, he's risking losing $12 total. And if the team loses, they're risking losing $4 each. Okay, current state. Let's say in this position, Uncle Paul loses. So again, let's go to the score sheet. Let's go. Uncle Paul loses 12. All right. That means that Dirty John Billy gains 4. Lori Luann gains 4. The Yam Man gains 4. All right. So what are the totals now? We got to go. What was the total of the last round? -2 plus 4. The Yam Man has a total of $2. Plus $2. Lori Luann. Same story, I guess, right? So we're going to go +2, +2, and then Uncle Paul. Uncle Paul is now -6. All right, Uncle Paul's total was 6, lost $12, now -6. You should be able to look at each one of these lines, and it should break even. Where somebody is gaining $6, you're going to have to get that $6 from somebody. So you got to make up for that and break even and end up at $0 per row here, all right? -2, -2, -2, -6 total, +6 is 0, and so on. All right, so at the end of the day, when you all decide you've had enough backgammon to determine who gets what, it's not a matter of like, the Yam Man, or it's not a matter of Uncle Paul owing the Yam Man directly or anything. It's a matter of Uncle Paul owing the pot $6, and then the Yam Man, Lori Luann, and Dirty John Billy are owed $2 each from the pot. And then it's easy to just like add and remove people as you kind of go throughout the Chouette. All right. So, it's worth saying that Chouette rules, there's plenty of different variations out there. I recommend reading those articles from 20 years ago and, trying to dig a little bit more, seeing what's out there, or playing with your local backgammon club, seeing what everybody does locally, and having some fun with it. But yeah, I think that's it